Boom, Wade here again, rocking the shark shirt. Today what we're gonna get into is some more relationship advice, specifically 8 mistakes that most guys make when they're fighting with their girlfriend or wife. So let's get into it. First mistake is making it too big of a deal, thinking, oh my God, is this the wrong person? Is she crazy? Fighting is healthy. Fighting is actually natural in a relationship. If you didn't fight, you'd have no polarity and it'd get really boring really fast. And so what you wanna do is redefine what the fight is. Of course, if you're fighting all the time and it's a toxic relationship, that's something different. And we'll talk about some tactics and strategies to make sure that doesn't happen and so that it happens less. But when it does come up, when those little flare-ups, as I like to call them, come up, what's important is to reframe it as an opportunity for growth. And so this is something I used to do sort of facetiously with my girlfriend, said like, oh yeah, we had another opportunity for growth here. But one, that just changed the feeling associated with it. But secondly, it makes it so it's an opportunity to get feedback. And what's amazing is if I look at every opportunity for growth I had with my girlfriend, it led to us leveling up in the relationship. It led to it getting better. It led to us being closer and understanding each other more and appreciating each other more. So don't feel that you're ever gonna get to a place where they go away completely and you're just not gonna have any sort of arguments, but instead use it again as an opportunity to learn more about the other person, repair the relationship, and have it be win-win for both of you. Which leads us well into mistake number 2, which is don't compromise, cooperate. Don't sacrifice. Find that balance of course, you need to have personal boundaries for how somebody interacts with you. Let's say if they, push too hard or they get too mean or they kind of yell at you or something like that, or they're sort of criticizing and being critical of the things that you do. Let's say it's hanging out with friends or working too much. A lot of time that feedback, again, that opportunity for growth could be a good thing, but you also have to go, okay, where's that line? If I look at my values, when am I living in alignment with them? And when are things getting pushed too far? And that's a great time, again, to have that conversation. And so it's not like, oh, I'm taking away this thing, I'm losing this thing, I'm sacrificing or compromising for something else. She is important to you. She's also a value that you have. It's not just one thing. Too often, we're so mono-focused on that immersive thing that we're like, oh, I gotta do, oh, this is holding me back from my work. There's more to life than just your work. There's more to life than just your girlfriend. There's more to life than just your health. There's more to life than just anything. And so when you look at it in aggregate, go, okay, how do I balance all these things? So when I add them up, I'm moving forward in the best way possible. And truly, a lot of times that feedback that you're getting from your partner, again, they know you better than anyone else, and it's usually good feedback. So I've had times where my girlfriend's like, we need to do something. We haven't done something in a long time. We need to go out to dinner more. We need to take a vacation. And I was really leaning against it. I was like, no, it's not time for a vacation. I got too much work to do. And then all of a sudden when we did it, because I kind of sort of, said, okay, let's go on vacation, it ended up being exactly what I needed. And so that really balanced me out. Same thing like going out and you're like, oh man, I just got more work to do, or I gotta be efficient. That person there, especially a woman, is great for getting you out of just that sort of rigid, sort of Spartan-like persona to go out and have some fun every once in a while. The third mistake that most guys make is they try to be right. They try to win every argument. They try to think this is not a debate here, this is your loving partner, and the way that you win is actually by losing. Again, it's that cooperation, because in the end, the overall relationship, valuing that relationship is more important. Don't lose sight of the fact that yes, you won the battle, but you lost the war. The overall war, that rules of engagement that you're playing here, is to have a great, healthy, successful relationship where you're growing together, you love each other, you're not resentful. And so if you just fall into that, and again, we just fall into it naturally, especially as men, we have that competitive nature, and we're like, oh, I gotta win this, I gotta win the debate. And all that ends up happening is you end up losing because she's resentful of the fact that you're like, yeah, I got one over. And then the next time you get in a fight, it doesn't lead to, like I said, mistake number 1, where you have these opportunities for growth. Instead, what it leads to is just more flare-ups and more flare-ups, increasing those, getting more toxic, leading to the inevitable end of the relationship. On the same theme, another mistake that people make is they keep score. Don't keep score. And what I mean by this is you wanna come to every argument with a clean slate. The worst situation in the world is where all of a sudden, this is the typical story that I always think of, that I never want my relationship to get to. Where all of a sudden you got some cup, and you're like, oh, I got a little dirty cup here, and I'm gonna go put it in the sink. And you put it in the sink instead of putting it in the dishwasher, and all of a sudden, half an hour later, your girlfriend's like, what the fuck? What is with this cup in the sink? And it's like, it's obviously not about the cup at this point. This is just some built up anger and resentment that came from many of other situations. And so I don't wanna come from that perspective either. You don't wanna come from that perspective. So whenever, let's say she comes home and she's arguing about work, or she's arguing because you didn't text her enough, whatever this, or you're working too much, it doesn't matter what the situation is. First, take a deep breath and come to it with a clean slate. what is the goal of this situation? Ask yourself, what can I do for her right now? What is she dealing with? What is she going through? Don't try to be right. Don't try to win. Just go, okay, how can I deal with this situation effectively? And then maybe down the road, we can get into the feedback session. For example, let's say you had a really busy day at work, you forgot to text her, you didn't call her, and all of a sudden she comes home and she's angry about work, and she's angry at the fact that you didn't text her, and she's like, you work too much. In that situation, it's probably not the best time to go, hey, babe, I was working really hard. What do? We go logical. We're men. We go logical. We try to explain the situation. If we really look at what's going on here, she's just kind of worked up right now, and it's not a great time to give feedback of how you guys should interact in the future about, hey, when I have a strong work day, it's just like, okay, in the moment here, ask yourself, take a deep breath and go, what's the best thing for me to do right now? And it's probably saying, oh, I'm sorry, babe. Give me a hug. And that lightens the situation, and it gets you back to where you're there and you can relax and be comfortable and talk to each other on a normal playing field. And then maybe later on that day, maybe the next day, maybe a week later, you go, oh, remember when you had that argument back in the day? We should talk about how we can make sure that doesn't happen again. Which leads really well into one of the biggest mistakes that most guys make when getting into a fight is they try to solve her problems. And so let's say she comes home from work every day and she doesn't really like her job, and she's stressed, and she's talking about her boss, and she's like, oh man, I hate my boss, I hate my job, and all this stuff. And what does the guy do? Especially me, I'm the life coach, and I'm thinking, okay, we gotta put your resume in order. We gotta set aside 30 minutes, and let's set some goals around this. How many resumes do you wanna put out this week? How many jobs do you wanna apply to? That's not what it's about at all. Men, again, we're logical, and we're thinking too logical in this situation. When you're listening to what she says, realize that women, they talk kind of in hyperbole, and so they might say, today was the worst day ever. Or they might say, you know, we never go out anymore. And you're like, no, we went out 2 days ago, we went out 3 days ago. What's happening is in that moment, they're very present, and they're just expressing how they feel in that moment. And so don't get into that logical discussion, don't try to be right, don't try to solve it. We go out 3 days a week, like should we set aside more time to schedule more days in the week? Instead, take a step back and go, what is the emotional heartbeat right now? And a lot of times, it's just saying, hey, I'm stressed right now, honey. Can you help me unwind? And so women, the way that men, what we do, we go off into our cave and we isolate and we just think deep thoughts and we go into pro-con analysis. We think, oh, how should I deal with the situation? Women, what they do, they need to talk it out. And you as the partner, they're just expressing that and they're letting themselves unwind. So let them through that, help them through that. And again, it's not by solving problems. Again, it's not by being right. It's not even looking at it logically. And instead, a lot of times just like, oh, babe, I'm so sorry. Work must have been really hard. And what she wants is the same from you. So it's better to go, oh, you know what? My work day was really tough too. I had this really tough sales call, or, you know, things were up and down at times. You know, I was really excited and this thing didn't happen, or this person didn't show up, or whatever it is. Let your side come out too. And what it does is she starts feeling like more understood. She feels more appreciated. And then it winds down. And a lot of times what you thought was a fight, it doesn't even become a fight. The next mistake most guys make is getting emotional, identifying with the feedback that they're getting. They're saying, oh, what does this say about me? What does this mean about me? And of course, this person is the closest person to you. You're more vulnerable with them than anyone. So it's hard not to take it personally. It's hard not to get emotional. But again, taking that deep breath, looking at it from a meta perspective and going, what is actually going on right here? What is really going on now? Let's not try to solve a problem. Let's not try to be logical and just go, okay, how can I come at this and not feed into this? Because a lot of times you'll have that tipping point sort of scenario where she says a certain thing, you're about to say something, and if you said this thing, it would feel really good because you go, you'd feel like, yes, I asserted myself here, and that leads to a serious argument. Instead, take that deep breath. She's just a little stressed right now. Maybe I'm a little stressed right now. How can I take, like shake out the physiology, jump up and down on the trampoline, whatever you gotta do to kind of change it. Maybe just say, hey, you know what? I need to go in the other room for a second. Let me just go breathe this. I'm not angry at you. I just need to go think this out. And what ends up happening long-term is the fights get shorter and shorter. You're able to do them much more constructively where you each have a flare up and you're able to take feedback right away. You don't get emotional about it. And that takes time. It takes some learning. And sometimes we have these sort of innate patterns that we think are just part of who we are. I remember with my girlfriend, when we were just starting to date and we were just starting to argue more regularly, and she was like, and she'd start yelling and she'd start getting angry. And I'm like, you're yelling at me. And she's like, I'm not yelling at you. And she didn't even realize it was such an unconscious pattern. She didn't realize that she had learned that, but she was able to outgrow that. And you need to do the same. There's a lot of times where we just go, all of a sudden you can feel that heat, you can start feeling the sweat kick in, and you start feeling like, I need to assert myself here. Instead, again, take that deep breath. It's a pattern interrupt. And you go first. As you're able to do that more and more as the man and lead her, she starts feeling more and more comfortable opening up, being more vulnerable, and those fights truly do lead to opportunities of growth. The next mistake everyone makes is fighting over text. Don't fight over text. Make it a rule. Tell your partner. If all of a sudden she starts to go that path, cut it off, say, hey, let's just talk on the phone at minimum. I don't even like the phone. For me, it's in person because there's just these nuances of your eye contact, your body language, the tone of your voice, and just those balance and the interplay there. It's completely different than over text, and it's so easy to misinterpret it. So just quick rule, never fight over text. And then the final rule is resolve all fights before you go to sleep. Even if you got a big day of work tomorrow and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm only getting 4 hours of sleep, don't go to bed stewing in that sort of energy. Resolve the situation, talk about it, deal with it then, spend an extra half an hour. The relationship is more important than that little bit of sleep. So have that rule in your relationship. And again, having these rules, talking about them when you're in a non-emotional situation, when you're not in the fight, then all of a sudden it leads to when the fight comes up, you go, oh, remember we talked, we were gonna just resolve this. Let's just talk about really quickly. We don't need to fix the situation, but can I just express myself here quickly so we can go to bed, give a hug. And again, you win by losing. You win by thinking about the long term of what leads to a better relationship in the long run versus just winning one little thing. You don't win by solving problems. And again, you might say, okay, I'm gonna go off and I'm gonna try this. And the first time you go try it, all of a sudden it leads to another flare up and it leads to arguments and it leads to that toxicity. At some point at the end of the day, did I choose the right person? I talk about that a lot. But secondly, it's gonna take some time. It takes months and months, if not years. My girlfriend and I, over the years, over the last 5 years, we've gotten better and better at, like, there was a time a couple weeks ago where I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And it ended up being a pretty serious fight in the morning there, and it almost ruined her day, it almost ruined my day, and all of a sudden I caught myself. I'm like, okay, that was me. I'm gonna go over, I'm gonna apologize, give her a hug. She didn't wanna hug me, and I'm like, give me a hug, and I threw her on the bed, and we're kind of rolling around, like making it fun, playing with the physiology. Don't get too serious about it. Because I wanted to deal with that then, immediately, versus letting that stew all day, and then we're texting kind of weird and these angry texts, and then all of a sudden I had a meeting at night and she's resenting me for having this meeting. Resolve them faster and faster, and it's gonna lead to a better and better relationship. And realize, again, becoming a boyfriend, being a girlfriend, being a husband, being a wife, it's a skill set. And so there you have it, 8 mistakes most guys make that if you change these, you're gonna have a much healthier relationship. You're gonna have much more opportunity to grow, take that feedback, and grow together in that relationship. Not have those thoughts of, oh my God, not that toxic relationship. And so I really hope that helps you out. And as always, enjoy.